Today we're going to be reading chapter 5 of The Outsiders. But first, we're going to go back to chapter 4 and remember how chapter 4 ended. Johnny and Ponyboy were in an abandoned church. So you think, where were they? The setting is an abandoned church that Dally had told them to go to. And he had told them to go there because Johnny had murdered Bob, right? The Soch who was trying to pick a fight with Ponyboy. And Johnny came to his rescue, and it ended up going too far, and Johnny had murdered Bob. And Dally said, go away to this church. And they got to the church, and it gave them that creepy feeling. It was a really scary old church. And that's where we leave off. They fell asleep in this abandoned church. And remember, abandoned means people don't normally go there. It's kind of shut down and empty most days. Chapter 5. I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't know where I was. I pushed myself up. I was sore from sleeping on that hard floor all night. Suddenly, I realized Johnny wasn't there. Johnny, I called loudly, and that wooden church echoed, Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. I looked around wildly, almost panic-stricken, but then I caught sight of some crooked letters written in the dust of the floor. Went to get some supplies. Be back soon, Johnny. I sighed and went to the pump to get a drink of water. The hill the church was on was like it was sitting on top of the world. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself, even if you don't want to. I could remember every detail of that whole night. I was scared just sitting there by myself. And then I heard a whistle I knew well enough. I returned it carefully. Does your family have a whistle or a whistle that you would recognize? Have you guys heard my whistle? If you hear that whistle, you know that's Miss Amos. She wants you, right? Sometimes I'll do that at recess for you guys. That's the same thing that Johnny was doing for Ponyboy, and Ponyboy recognized that. I grinned at him. Hey, Johnny, fancy meeting you here. What'd you get? So Johnny had just got back from the store and getting supplies, remember? Come on inside. Dally told us to stay inside. We went in. A week's worth of bologna, 2 loaves of bread, a box of matches. Johnny went on. I got tired of watching him, so I started digging in the sack myself. Whee! A paperback copy of Gone with the Wind? How did you know I've always wanted one? Johnny got red. I remember you saying something about it, and me and you went to see a movie, remember? I thought that we could read it and pass the time here. Gee, thanks. And peroxide and a deck of cards. Wait, suddenly I realized something. Johnny sat down, pulled out his knife. We're going to have to cut our hair, and you're going to bleach yours. They'll have our descriptions in the newspaper, and we can't fit those descriptions. Oh, no. My hand flew into my hair. No, Johnny, not my hair. My hair was my pride. It was long and silky. Our hair was tough. Our hair labeled us greasers. It was our trademark. It was our identity. The one thing that we were proud of. Maybe we couldn't drive fancy cars, but we had cool hair. Johnny sighed. I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm going to cut mine too. Come on, Ponyboy. It'll grow back. Okay, I said, wide-eyed. Get it over with. Johnny flipped out the razor edge of his switch. He took hold of my hair and started sawing at it. I shuddered. Not too short, Johnny, please. We got to bleach it now. After I'd sat in the sun for 15 minutes to dry the bleach, Johnny let me look at an old cracked mirror that we'd found in the closet. It just did not look like me. I look like a blasted pansy. Not a nice name. A pansy is someone's like a wimp. I was miserable. Johnny handed me the knife. Go ahead. You do mine. I did the best that I could. We looked at each other. I guess we're disguised. I leaned back next to him. I guess so, he said. Oh, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness. It's just hair. Shoot nothing, I snapped. In fact, this is Ponyboy talking. Ponyboy's our narrator. It took me a long time to get that hair the way that I wanted. And besides, this just ain't us. I know, Johnny said. Things have been happening so fast. Man, we're in the middle of nowhere. Remember just last night? So this is Ponyboy talking now. He said, remember just last night? We were walking and talking with Cherry and Marcia. Then we were laying at that lot, looking up at the stars and dreaming. Stop it, Johnny gasped from under clenched teeth. Shut up about last night. I killed a guy last night. I didn't mean to. And they were drowning you. I was so scared. This is my fault that we're out here for bringing a 13-year-old kid along. You ought to go home, Pony. You didn't kill him. No, I screamed, and I'm 14. I've been 14 for a month. And I'm in this as just as much as you are. Stop crying. I just can't help it. He slumped down beside me. I didn't mean it like that, Ponyboy. Don't cry. Pony will be okay. Don't cry. I leaned against him and bawled until I went to sleep. For the next 4 or 5 days, they were the longest days of my life. Maybe some of you guys can understand how they feel since we're in quarantine right now. Where if you have to just stay inside and stay home, it kind of can feel like a long day sometimes. So maybe you guys can feel what it's like to be in that abandoned church like what Pony and Johnny are going through. We did kill time by reading Gone with the Wind and playing poker. What are you doing to kill time? Are you reading books, doing puzzles, helping out around the house, maybe doing some projects or chores? Johnny sure did like that book, although he didn't really know much about the Civil War. They're learning about the Civil War too. It's neat when our books collide, aren't they? So you guys are learning about the Civil War, and so are Johnny and Ponyboy from the book Gone with the Wind. I had to explain a lot to Johnny, especially about those Southern gentlemen, but he was impressed with their manners and charm. Boys, make sure that you learn a thing or two and think about manners too. That is a sweet thing to have, like opening the doors and saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, and yes sir, no sir. Ladies, you can use those manners too. It's very nice. Johnny and I never went to the front of the church. We always stayed in the back. One morning, I woke up earlier than usual and being careful not to wake Johnny up, I went to sit on the steps and smoke a cigarette. He's 14 years old. Is that legal or illegal? It's illegal. Not allowed to smoke. The dawn was coming then. So think about what it looks like. The different colors in the sky. If the dawn, the morning sun is coming up. Are you making a picture in your head? I can see the sun. I can see bright oranges and some yellow, and sometimes there's hot pink in the sun. You think about that. So when you're reading a story, try to put yourself there and make those pictures in your mind. It was beautiful. Golly, Johnny's voice beside me made me jump. That sure is pretty. All gold and silver, Johnny said. Too bad it couldn't stay like that all the time. Nothing gold can stay. I was remembering a poem I once read. What? The poem by Robert Frost goes, Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. Johnny was staring at me. Where'd you learn that from, Pony? Robert Frost wrote it. You know, Johnny said slowly, I never did notice the clouds and the colors and stuff like that until you kept reminding me about them. It seems like they were never there before you told me about them. Do you guys notice the clouds, the sky? Do you notice the buds on the trees starting to come out? I want you to start looking for those things. If you see a picture, or if you see something, take a picture and email those to me or send them to me, or send us a Marco Polo of all the new things that you're noticing, okay? I love that. And sometimes our family does a, I never noticed. Look for something that you never noticed this week and send me a picture of something, okay? And then that'll be the same as what Johnny's feeling. He never noticed the beautiful things in the sky like Ponyboy had. And now he notices them so much more. By the 5th day, I was so tired of bologna, I nearly got sick every time I looked at it. Remember, that was like one of the only things that they bought from the store. We had eaten all of our candy bars that we'd gotten in the first 2 days, and I was dying for a Pepsi. I'm what you might call a Pepsi addict. Do you guys think that you're an addict to something that you just want to have every single day? I'm a little bit of a coffee addict. I love my coffee in the mornings. I was also smoking a lot more than I usually did. We were careful with the cigarettes. If that old church ever caught on fire, there'd be no stopping it. This is what's called foreshadowing. So it might be giving us an idea of something that might happen later on in the book. It said, I'll repeat it again. We were really careful with our cigarettes. If that old church ever caught on fire, there'd be no stopping it. I was just about to sleep when I heard from a distance a low whistle that went off in a sudden high. You heard that whistle. Who do you think's there? He and Johnny are there. Who do you think it might be? A toad nudged me in the ribs. Glory, he said, a rough but familiar voice. He looks different with his hair like that. I rolled over and sat up, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes and yawned. Suddenly I blinked. Hey, Dally! Hey, Ponyboy, he grinned down at me. Or should I say, Sleeping Beauty. So remember, Dally was supposed to be coming for them, and he told him to stay there in that abandoned church until he got there. I never thought I'd be so happy to see Dally Winston. How's Soda Pop? Are the Fuzz after us? Remember, Fuzz is another word for the police. Is Derry all right? Do the boys know where we are? Hold on, kid, Dally broke in. I can't answer everything at once. You guys want to go get something to eat first? Oh, Ponyboy. He fumbled around with a piece of paper. I got a letter for you. A letter from who? Well, the president, of course. It's from Soda. Soda Pop? I said. But how did he know? I told him I didn't know where you were, but he didn't believe me. He gave me this letter and half of his paycheck to give you. Kid, you ought to see Derry. Remember, Derry's the dad, and Derry's the one who hit him the night before he ran away. He's taking this mighty hard. Derry's like the dad. He's not his actual dad. He's like the dad. I wasn't listening. I leaned back against the side of the church and read. Remember, this is the letter from Soda Pop. Ponyboy, well, I guess you got yourself into some trouble, huh? Derry and me nearly went nuts when you ran out like that. Derry's feeling awful sorry he hit you. You know he didn't mean it. The police came by to question us, and I can't believe little Johnny could kill somebody. Derry hasn't got the slightest notion where you might be, and it's really killing him. I wish you'd come back and turn yourselves in, but I guess you can't since Johnny might get hurt. You guys are famous. You got a paragraph in the newspaper even. Take care. Say hi to Johnny for us. Soda Pop Curtis. Well, do y'all want something to eat or not? Asked Dally. Johnny and I leaped up. You better believe it. Gee, Johnny said wistfully. It sure will be good to get in a car again. This also made me think of how we're feeling in quarantine, where we're all supposed to be staying home to be able to stay safe. But it makes me think about what are we thinking about when we do get to leave our homes and when it is safe for us to go back out again? What are some things that you miss? I was wondering if maybe you will go throw a softball or a baseball outside. Maybe you'll go over to the ball diamonds. Maybe you'll ride a bike. Some of those things you can be doing now, but it might be even more fun to maybe do with some friends that you may not be able to be doing right now. Or next year, you looking forward to riding the school bus? Some of those things that maybe we take a little bit for granted, we'll be like, oh, this is pretty special. I need to just count these blessings. I think that might be something I know I'm going to change when I go back and just be a little bit more appreciative of all the things and all the days that I do get to see you guys, because I love teaching you, but I love seeing your faces when I get to see you. So I know that I'm like Johnny when he says, oh, I can't wait to get in a car. I know there's so many things that I can't wait to do again either. So I'm kind of feeling like Johnny right now. Dally always liked to drive fast. We came down that red dirt hill off of J Mountain. Remember the churches up here? Off of J Mountain. And doing 85 miles an hour. That's breaking the speed limit, ladies and gentlemen. And we stopped at Dairy Queen. And the first thing I got was what do you think he got? Not what you get at Dairy Queen. What do you think Johnny got? I said, I'm a coffee addict. I'm sorry, what did we say Pony got? You think he got a Pepsi? I hope he said Pepsi. Remember those details of the story, right? Johnny and I gorged on barbecue sandwiches and banana splits. Glory, Dallas said. I don't want you guys getting sick from eating so much. Oh, I didn't tell you something, said Dally. So Dally's telling him. The Socs and us are going to have an all-out war over all this. That kid that you killed had plenty of friends, and all over town, it's going to be the Socs against the Greasers. If they win, things go on as usual. If we do, they stay out of our territory for good. Oh, and one more thing. We got us a spy on the Socs side. That good-looking girl I tried to pick up that night that you killed the Socs, that red-headed chick. What's her name? Think you remember who their spy is? Cherry. So he said Cherry is going to start telling them the information from the Socs. So that is the end of chapter 5. Thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed it.